It's backwards.
Yeah, the image is bad.
All right, you guys be quiet. I'll call this meeting of the Executive Committee to order. This meeting was posted by the clerk's office in accordance with the state statutes. We're all here. We'll rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great, we've got a full slate tonight, so consent agenda, I'll look for a motion in a second. Jody,
Oh, we want to get moving.
Supervisor Schulteis, Supervisor Bossert. Any discussion or questions? Good. Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We've got some people that have to leave here today, so we're gonna jump way down to item F, action item. Use of ARPA funds for Discover Wisconsin. Take a motion and a second. Motion by Supervisor Mary. Second by Supervisor Shadron. Mr. Executive.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So everybody has the packing material. Did we get that sent out, Mike? Okay, wonderful. So what you see in front of you is a proposal for the next few years. This is not a one-time and done type of a thing. This is an ongoing partnership for the next 3 years at a minimum with Discover Wisconsin. What we're aiming at and what I was trying to find a solution for is a way to support local mom and pop shops and restaurants in particular, who, especially in the last 6 months or so, I have heard continually are struggling. Twice, actually, I've heard directly from local restaurant owners that highly discounted gift cards are what will get them through this year in the black. So they're struggling pretty mightily with inflation and the recession and supply chain issues, including not being able to get some of the food items that they normally would be selling. So what I thought would be a nice thing that could help everybody, rather than trying to have some program that might pick winners or losers, would be something like this that really advertises the county as in general as a place for people to come. We would certainly be looking to work with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, with our local chambers of commerce, with our local municipalities, trying to find different angles and lenses to look through that highlight opportunities for people to come visit Washington County and spend money locally. So as you can see, it's spread out over 3 years. It's a significant investment each year. I think it averages somewhere in that ballpark of 150,000 a year, just a little bit under that. But would be very, very targeted. And you can see it's the full breadth scope of the portfolio of tools that Discover Wisconsin provides. Everything from their podcasts to their social media to commercials and then of course their show on television, which is probably the most popular or maybe most well known. So this would be something that would come exclusively from ARPA dollars, as you can see in your agenda, and I think ties very, very closely to what I believe post-COVID dollars are intended for, to help local businesses recover from the pandemic and now recover from the recession or the recessionary inflation. So those types of things. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I would echo that this is what ARPA was intended for, is to overcome the effects of the COVID. And it's quite a package of things that we would get for our money. So, any comments?
I would just totally endorse it. All the support we can give to our local community businesses. And again, promotion. All for it.
Just so you're aware, I know for a fact, and I've talked to both the administrators in Jefferson County and in Sheboygan County. They adopted these packages a couple of years back already. A similar package. They each put their own spin on it, but they're both very satisfied with what they've received thus far. And I still think in terms of execution and what's seen on the public side and the consumer side, they're still very early. But on the actual creation side, they're well on their way for their package. So I felt comfortable after hearing from both of those counties that this would be a good fit for us as well.
Well, no other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 2 is, G there right below that, which is Whippley expense for our ad hoc committee. Motion by Supervisor Schulteis, second by Supervisor Mary. Thank you.
I have no regular report. I'll answer questions if you like. We've used Whippley for a number of years. They do our cost report. And since 2020, they've been looking into our different scenarios. This 19,000 not to exceed will cover the 5 facets that we've talked about, the different options. And exactly what reimbursement, not exactly, but a ballpark of what it'll cover. Excuse me. Even when the state of Wisconsin went from 77% to 91% of the actual cost, they have yet to break down exactly all the components as to how we will be reimbursed. In fact, just this week, we received a statement indicating that we will be receiving an additional $210,000 from May ongoing because they readjusted some of the rates in 2022. So they're still working on 2023. But we want to hear the most accurate if possible and as possible.
All right, so I would like to propose an amendment, so I'm gonna pass this out to everybody. This is going to expand what they will look at. There's a couple ideas that I've had floating around that I also want them to price out. Now, we're gonna need to get them some supporting data ahead of time. But my motion is that we increase this amount by an additional amount not to exceed $15,000. So that would bring the total to $34,000, so that they can explore additional options to present to the ad hoc committee. And the options are listed there. One is building additional assisted living options, either as CBRF or RCAC. Another is building independent senior living options, either as 100% private pay or subsidized Section 42 for ages 55 plus, or Section 8 for ages 62 plus, or some combination of these. The potential vision I see for this is that these would completely pay for themselves and completely pay for any costs associated with either remodeling the current Samaritan skilled nursing facility or building a new skilled nursing facility, CBRF in West Bend, and possibly provide additional income to support any operating losses that we're currently having for the skilled nursing facility. I'm not a technical expert, so I don't know for sure that this would work this way. And there's also the issue of, is this the road we want to go, which would be a discussion for the full board. But I think we need to see what this would look like from a financial standpoint. So I'm asking for some money in addition so we can explore those options.
This would be such that this would reimburse Whippley to go in depth and do this exploration you're talking about.
Yep,
So basically, we're just paying for a study.
we're paying for a study. We're not committing to anything. We're just getting information so we can see how viable it is. And then at some point, if the numbers all look good, we'd have to engage in that philosophical discussion of, do we want to compete against the private sector at this level or not?
I don't see a time frame on here.
This will go hand in hand with that because this goes into the Samaritan Ad Hoc Committee. So,
Is Whipsley aware that we're gonna be requesting this and they're prepared to do
nope,
this work?
nope, this is something that we're gonna have to work out with them too.
Now, how do we know that it's not gonna take them a year to get done?
Well,
That's why I'm asking for a time frame. I mean, yeah, I realize that's gonna come
Yeah.
through here at the same time, but
the
Under
current thing
what
is gonna
timeframe
take them a year.
we're
to
gonna get
done.
enough pressure as it is coming into January to even consider
Yeah.
extending the ad hoc. And now how much further are we pushing this down the road?
Yeah, so this is not. I don't see this adding to their time frame significantly more than what we're currently asking them to do. And, if they come back and say they need additional time, well, then, then we pull that back. I don't know. But, yeah, but I think we need to give Samaritan every chance.
I
of
agree
being
with
on-
that,
Yeah,
but this is very open-ended at this.
Yeah.
point.
yeah.
If you look
'cause-
at the actual LOE though here, it doesn't have a time frame on it either. Under reporting and deliverables, it just doesn't
Yeah.
have one. And I think it's largely because of what Matt
Yeah.
was saying earlier, that
Let me give everybody.
we want to be sure on the reimbursement, what that exactly means. So
We've made a commitment to the community to come back on a certain date with a recommendation.
Yeah, let me go back there here.
um,
Sorry. You guys are fine, fine there.
yeah, so since the original one, LOE doesn't have a time frame. We would be building some additional work into them for them, so.
I'm all for the concept.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just concerned, it's too wide open.
Excuse me, Matt, in your experience with Whipley, is this something you think they could accomplish in a month? Or by the next ad hoc meeting?
Whipsley could accomplish this. I have no idea the time frame, nor do I know the depth that you'd like. They could give you ballpark comparables, which would help. But if you want an in-depth study, I don't think they could do that in 30 days.
Okay.
Because if you want something that's tailored to Washington County, it's going to take longer. They did studies on population and competition and that type of thing. If you want them to look at typically in Wisconsin, independent living, Section 8, any of those product lines and what it would cost, and I could work with possibly AG Architecture to talk about the building.
Yeah.
Because that would also play a role in this. And I'm not sure how this fits into the ad hoc committee, if they're aware of this or where they fall.
Were they consulted in the development of this amendment?
I informed Linda that this was an idea that I think we need to look at, and she's in agreement that this is worth looking at. It doesn't mean we're committing to doing this, just
Right.
looking at this and getting the information so we can see if it's viable or not.
Now, some of this is already in the modeling. Banding new CBRF or RCAC. You're just talking different ratios of how they work together, which is what Matt,
I don't
presented to
recall
us originally,
seeing any expansion of assisted living, other than if we built a new facility, we'd have the 5 houses that each house 16. And 2 would be skilled nursing, 2 would be assisted, and 1 could flex either way. So that would be a little bit more assisted living there.
So what
Yeah.
you're saying is that originally you were talking about 85 beds if we built new. What you're saying is that we would go to 100 beds?
Okay, so let's
Or-
keep 2 things separate. So what was presented to the ad hoc committee was the idea of having 5 houses that each had 16 beds.
Mhm.
This is saying to supplement that, to be able to fund that, we would in addition do either more assisted living or independent living and use those revenues
To offset.
to offset losses we're taking in skilled nursing. Yep. Well, that's a form of independent living, yeah.
And
So
the original
42
was
and
80,
Section 8.
48 skilled and 32 assisted, but could any combination of the 80 could exist?
With the thought, though, however, in assisted living, you still need to employ CNAs. In independent living, you don't.
Yep.
And there's still a staffing crisis and shortage, so.
Yep.
Yes,
If that ratio is more on the assisted living side, then. we have
in
a-
the RCAC, excuse me, in the RCAC, we can have resident assistants which don't have all the training of the CNA. But staffing in general is a problem.
Mhm.
I'm all for what you've got here, Chris. I'm very concerned about some wording
Okay,
that I would be very afraid that if it got public is gonna have a whole bunch of misconstruances to it.
well, this is a public meeting, so, but
The vision I have, completely pay for themselves and completely pay for any cost. These are some pretty big statements.
yep,
And if we say that, hey, the county is exploring a program which would completely pay for all this, that's the wrong headline to go to the public. I'm concerned about that wording. I love the concept. I think
okay,
anything we can get done in a very short and reasonable time to explore what all of our options might be, I think we should
Yeah.
explore. I completely endorse that. But and in that regard, I have no problem with the additional $15,000. But I'm just concerned about your there's some statements here
yeah,
that are real strong.
Yeah.
And if these got into the wrong editorial hands, I can see it wrong headlines.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, to the
but the
public.
base motion is what's on the top.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with the
That's the
concept.
motion,
We
everything
need to
else is
explore
just
everything we
supporting.
can to
Yeah.
find out what are the best options
Yep.
for the county, for the taxpayers, and for the residents who would use that facility.
Yeah, so what we're voting on is that top paragraph.
Right.
Everything under that is my supporting info to explain why I want to do this, what the.
I
vision
understand. I
is.
would just, I'm
Yep.
very cautious about some of this wording getting out to the public as this is what the county is going to do.
Correct.
No.
Well, and we're not saying this is what we're gonna do. We're saying we're getting information on it. Because I don't know how big the independent living would have to be able to accomplish what I want. If it'd have to be, say, 500 apartment units, that's probably beyond the scope of what we could do to be effective. On the other hand, if it'd be a smaller community of, say, 100 to 150 independent living apartments, that definitely is more in line with something that I think we could do.
I've gotten calls and
Yeah.
I've talked with a couple of you about it. I've gotten some calls from people say, what are your thoughts on Samaritan? I said, I don't have enough information yet to make a
Yep.
decision.
Yep,
And this is why I'm strongly in favor, let's get all the information we
Yep.
can in a reasonable period of time and then make a decision. But I really don't want this wording to get out as a public that this is what we're trying to achieve.
well,
Yeah,
this is
it'd
a
be
public
wonderful to
meeting,
achieve
so
it,
it's
but I'm
out.
just very concerned. Yeah, I agree with you for the up here at the very top, that first paragraph.
And
That's
that's
what we're
what we're
discussing.
voting. Yep,
Now,
everything else is just supporting, so you understand why I'm asking for this.
okay, where did you get 15,000 additional?
Mhm.
Somebody agreed to that number?
Nope, that's me
Just grab
guessing
that.
that, grab it out of the sky as a maximum for what it may cost.
Because they're at 16 with everything they've done already, so what you have here is basically doubling their
Yeah.
work, or
Yeah,
maybe
close to.
doubling.
It's, I figured, yeah,
LOEs
it's a
for
guess as
19,
to what,
right?
yeah. It's a guess as to what this may cost with a little bit of cushion in there.
Oh, I'm sorry,
So,
19,000,
yeah.
so not quite double.
Yep,
I support the 15,000 for the additional exploration of options. But it has to be done within. Maybe Matt can give some guidance on this, what we've considered a
Reasonable
reasonable time frame.
Yep.
Because we can't just keep telling the public, well, we're still working on it, we're still working, on it, we're
Yeah.
still working on it. We have to make a
Yeah.
decision.
Because the public's getting tired of waiting.
The public's getting tired. of it.
Everybody is.
And
Yeah.
we aren't, I don't want anybody on this, on this board be accused of kicking it down the road. That's not our plan.
Yeah.
Yep, it's to get it done.
Get it done.
Yep.
How we resolve that and put a time frame in here, I don't know. But I think there's something needs to be done to this to say,
Yeah.
we've got
But the-
You've
as
got 30 days,
Supervisor
60 days,
Schulteis
45
pointed
days,
out,
whatever it is.
There's no
Yeah.
time frame on the original motion either. It's in the original action item. So this is just blending in right with that.
So we told the public that we were gonna have
Yep,
a decision by the end of January. So in that regard, there is a time frame.
yeah,
But it's not listed on here. I mean, it could.
I
change.
agree.
Yeah,
I'm just saying from the public, we said, hey, this is the date.
Right.
I guess I've spoke,
are you
Okay.
guys
Said my-
comfortable with the not to exceed that matches the not
Yep.
to exceed the 19,000? So if it's 8,000 or,
Yeah.
you know, because he's already,
Yeah.
they're already, Whippley's already into some of the data mining. So not to exceed legally is good for,
yeah.
is that,
So it can be a lesser amount. Yep,
yeah.
we just don't want them to go over that. Yep,
said my piece.
Does anybody want a second?
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
amendum- the
I
amendment?
can second that.
all right, thank you.
What's your sense on how doable this is, and could we word this very vaguely with just the top part and the rest to be negotiated between you and the committee chair, the ad hoc committee chair, and Whippley?
Yes, what I'd like to see if possible is tonight, this is new to me, so tonight
New to all of them.
for you to consider, one, if we do this, have an extended date of March 31st. Two, I'll deal directly with the ad hoc on this and look at possibly 50,000 for Whippley, possibly another 12 or 15,000 for AG Architecture. It's to come back with something. If you agree with that as a potential, then I'd like to be able to talk with the two entities, Whippley and AG Architecture, get a more exact scientific guesstimate of what it would cost and the length of time it would take, and then get back to either the ad hoc or the executive committee as to what it really would look like. And did we go far enough or not? Because your parameters, rightly so, are very vague at this moment. And so there are a number of things. There's a new housing project just getting ready to get started. And so they'll need to explore exactly that and what impact does that have on Washington County.
And that gives me pause on competing further with
Yeah.
the private sector.
And
That's not what the county's here to do.
Mhm.
Yep,
Mhm.
and that's a philosophical discussion we can have down the road once we know the true picture. One of the dynamics is with other projects opening up. Either that means there's a lot more business, there's an untapped market potential. Or it means we're gonna cross over that point of market saturation where there's too much competition. And none of us here will know that. Whippley will.
And I can get on board with Whiffley. At this point, I can't get on board with paying any more for architecture fees until we have a study to tell us where we're at.
Well, remember, the study will look at the demographics, but will not give you a true financial picture because that will take a building. And so a building will take an architect. And then we can get a ballpark guesstimate of what it would cost to build that. So you can have half the story, and that half of the story would tell you, one, is there enough market in Washington County?
Yeah.
Two, what type of market would we be looking for a match? Is it Section 8? Is it strictly independent? Is it whatever? You could get that half without asking the question, what will it cost to build it? We could hold that off, and I would not have to have an architectural firm look at the actual building cost, the structure, and location.
I mean, we already have a ballpark what new buildings would cost. And you can argue all day if it's gonna be 20 million or 40 million
Yeah.
or any, so,
It's a 2-year-old
yeah,
Yeah.
quote, yeah.
so. I don't feel that's important now. I think we need to get the numbers
Yeah,
to make a decision. Cause
Yep.
before we go too far down the path, we need to know if
Does it
it's a
make
dead end or
sense?
not.
Is it worthwhile or is it a
Right.
dead end? Yep.
Matt, do you have any idea of how many beds in assisted living Slinger is looking at with their new development?
Um, that's time.
I'm saying,
I'm getting a little bit concerned about where we're going with this. The motion really was about funding. I understand. I think someone at this point is appropriate on whether or not it makes sense to authorize that kind of funding and the reason they want to, may not want to, but I think we need to be careful just turning it into some detail about the SMART project and options there. So I just want the executive committee and the parliamentary to try to just remain on task with the whether or not you authorize a certain amount of funds to fund additional studies. I also would caution the committee respectfully that I don't believe we would have the authority to that lines that set point by the county board its motion and the establishment of the county committee. So I think at this point you're stuck with that deadline. The county board could probably pass an extension or amend that act, but I think that I want you to be mindful of that as well. I appreciate the opportunity to address you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So. Are we ready to vote on the amendment?
Amended amendment?
We have to
Right.
vote for the amendment first, right?
Correct, then you'd vote on that.
Okay, so the original wording I had on the motion was that we increase this amount by an additional amount not to exceed 15,000. Additional, so 34,000 total, so that Whiffley can explore additional options to present to the Samaritan Ad Hoc Committee.
Period.
So that's the motion, yep. Yeah, were there changes people wanted to that?
No, I just thought he was talking about the wording. That
Yeah,
we got,
so
so what you
everything down
just said
below
is
is
what
just
the amendment
support.
is,
Yeah,
and I'm good with that. I can make it, if I like to make the
I
motion, I can make
appreciate
the motion. to approve it.
No, he
no, I
made the
think-
motion and you second.
Yeah.
I can second it.
yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hang on one
Aye.
second.
Excuse me?
I would hang on 1 second.
Okay.
Only because staff just told you don't have enough money to do what you're asking. I mean, you can do whatever you want, don't get me wrong, and I'm also, as you all have said, I think there's good reasons to go down the path. $34,000 and can get you what you're asking for it. That's what Matt said. So then what are we gonna do? Come back in another month and ask again?
So,
I don't,
so how much are you thinking we need to properly?
Well,
study
if
this?
we say not to exceed 50,000,
Okay. So that adds an additional 31 above what was originally in the packet.
but the question I had, and this is what I was asking Matt, is the 50,000 gets you what Whipley tells you, but you're gonna need an architect to tell you what is a building? Because you're gonna build something,
Yeah.
what is a building gonna cost? Because the other thing you're actually asking, Lipsley, is how much are we talking about investing in every one of these options? In terms of capital, in terms of sunk cost, and then in terms of ongoing, which are three different buckets. So you need an architect. Lipsley can't tell you how much it's gonna cost to, but whatever you said, 100 beds or whatever.
Yeah.
They're not gonna tell you that. They're gonna tell you what you could get on reimbursement. I need an architect to tell you how much it's gonna cost to actually physically construct that. Right? That's the difference between 35 million to build new and, you know, whatever it is to operate it. They're
Yeah.
totally different numbers.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
so
that, I don't know what you said for that number, but
I said 12.
so 62.
okay,
That's
So-
my only clarification.
Yeah.
Whatever you guys decide you
Okay.
want to do,
so
but
that'd be an additional 43,000. But we're talking about a decision that right now, the cheapest option we have is to close at 6 million. And the most expensive option we've been shown so far is 30 million to build a new building. Spending an extra 43,000 to make a good decision.
no,
is
I'm
something
not,
most-
not
yeah.
arguing. Not-
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not
So,
arguing that. And
we
it's a
go-
heck of 30 million is the number. It's probably closer to 40 or 45.
Okay,
But,
yeah.
but the point being, you're 100% correct. You're 100% correct.
Are you guys okay with adjusting that up to 62,000?
I'm not.
No, I'm not.
So for a decision that's somewhere between 6 million and 45,000?
I understand what you're saying, but I just am not comfortable throwing more money at it when it sounds like it's just, it's not gonna be what we're really seeking in the end.
At this point in time, it's a theoretical.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
All the
We're
options are
paying for-
theoretical.
Right.
yeah, and we're
Until we
paying to
get
get
to
a
the
better
guts.
idea of how viable is. it.
Theoretically, there might still be a sale out there that'll happen out of the blue.
Right.
So
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities out there.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of for-profit companies that do this type of thing. You know, there was a lot of talk when we had our big Samaritan discussion a few months ago about what was the secret sauce. Independent living is a big part of that secret sauce. More assisted living is a big part of that secret sauce. So,
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question? Is that okay? Is what you're really looking for an analysis to tell us how much and how big do we have to build in order to get to break even? Is that really what you're asking at the end of the day? Because I'm trying to figure out what, when we go back to the architect, what are we telling them?
is this a viable way?
Right,
To
but
make
you're
this work.
looking, the way I'm reading this, you're looking to do what we used to do and have done until, basically until COVID, which is CBRF and RCAC. Create enough revenues to subsidize the skilled nursing.
Yeah.
And it's a
or
break even
independent
venture.
living.
Right, but now you're talking about what would it take? It could be independent living, could be low income housing, it could be more
Yeah.
of RCAC or CBRF. You don't know, I don't know, I don't even think Matt knows, but that's what you're really asking.
Yeah.
And so then the question isn't, should we throw another $15,000 at Whitley? The question really is, who are the consultants that we actually need to answer that question? We're all just guessing what it could be. And to the point earlier, this is literally being built in Washington County and Slinger and West Bend right as we speak. The plan commissions are approving it, and TIF districts are getting created. So somebody has to do all of the analysis. I'm not exactly sure who that is. It's not Whitley. I mean, Whitley's one of at least two. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So at a minimum, you have to have sufficient dollars to pay consultants.
Yeah,
For us
So
to
should
say
we make-
Whitley is not.
should we amend it to include other consultants?
And we're going on a best guess.
Yeah.
So, oh, yeah.
I'm not comfortable with. that.
No.
I don't. I know what. The atmosphere is in West Bend. But if you go outside West Bend. I don't know that the taxpayers in this county want to
Support it.
increase that business. And if you're talking about increasing it hugely and competing with the private sector in order to try to break even. I don't know, I think we
Is
just
it-
pay Whipley to do the study. And if we're unsatisfied when that's done, we'll talk about an extension.
Mhm.
But we can't keep throwing taxpayer money away.
So is it that they don't want to be in this business, or is it that they don't want tax money funding this business?
Probably both.
Tax money will fund it at some point.
Right.
With the staffing shortages. We're going berserk on this whole subject.
Yeah.
I think we passed the original, well, with,
Yeah.
So we stay with the original motion and see what
see where we
picture
go.
that looks like.
And then we can
And then-
revisit something
And
like
then
this.
figure out, is it worth investing more in consultants for?
Yes.
So we already kind of approved this though. Do we have to go back and
We
unapprove it?
didn't vote.
No,
on
we
it yet.
didn't vote.
Oh,
We didn't
God,
vote
so-
on it yet.
We're figuring out what the amendment's gonna be,
Okay.
yeah.
And,
So,
and for the record, if you make a motion in a second, it's just to discuss it. You
Got it.
can still vote against it.
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, yeah, but so if we want to stay with the original motion and then see if those numbers, if they look good, we can invest more in consultants. I'm okay with that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may for a moment,
Yes, sir.
there is an option here if you like. It's your choice. The county executive and I just chatted about it a moment off the record here, and that is that you could refer this matter, if you like, to the full county board for discussion and a decision on the amount of money and breadth, depth of study you'd like done. You could take up the issue of whether or not the committee should extend potentially its deadlines, its work, and take this up as a package and have that discussion with yourself. Certainly, if you'd like to refer this to the county board, and it might, if speaking for Mr. Herno, and give him some additional time to gather other information to answer some of these questions for you. We can properly notice on an agenda so we can expand the discussion a little bit and give you a little more leeway. So I just put that out there. Maybe it's helpful for you, maybe you decide you don't want to do that, but it might be a value hearing how this discussion is going. And I just want to make sure that we're number one, aware of your options. Number two, we stick to the meeting rules and that we don't take this to a fire field. So that's all.
If we
Do we-
approve this spending, does it go to the county board anyway?
Mm-mm.
Okay,
Because we're spending.
It's none the board needs.
Yeah.
Well, are we withdrawing the motion, the amendment?
no, seems to me it makes sense, because if we wait till the county board, that's gonna be early January. Then we're delaying the work of the Samaritan Ad Hoc Committee even more. So,
You have to go to them anyway to get your extension. Right?
yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
but then this adds to the need for an extension.
You're shooting,
Where-
we're all shooting blind right now. We don't even know. We don't. We're guessing at a $62,000 number for, we don't know what.
Yeah. I think we want to get this started though too.
Right.
So maybe by then we'll have more info as to whether this is worthwhile to pursue. or not.
And
Yeah,
see what-
practically speaking, you're talking about 9 days, right? Because, I mean, at this point, it's Christmas.
Right.
And then the new year, and then we're back to work on the third or fourth or whatever it is. And then it's the 11th. So you're talking about a week in order to have real numbers and a real decision on an issue that the board's got to decide half of it anyway. If the board comes back and says, you're not extending the timeline, this is a moot point.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think the reality is the Samaritan Ad Hoc Committee is going to need an extension.
Yes, I'm certainly not
Yeah.
trying to influence whatever you guys decide, but practically speaking, you could be putting yourself in a box that you can't get out of. And you're light $62,000 on fire.
Do we need to
Procedurally-
vote on the amendment and then,
Or should we withdraw the
Withdraw.
amendments and decide to table the whole issue?
The amendment right now belongs to the committee. The committee would have to, I think, agree to allow it to be withdrawn. If you vote on it and vote it down, and it fails, back to the original question, but you could refer to the whole county vote.
So. Shall we vote
On this.
on the amendment?
Yes, this,
On
that's the amendment,
Okay.
that first statement.
Yeah. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed,
No,
Nay.
no, nay.
fails
Right,
4-1.
Now back to the original.
thanks for the extra work. And keeping the,
So if I may ask. the
keeping it
next
alive
question,
and, you know.
Do we go with the original motion? to Contract with Whitley, or should we wait for the board?
That's your decision. I mean, you can make a motion to refer the matter to county board if you so choose. Or you can continue to debate and make a decision on the motion that stands before you now.
I think I'm comfortable with contracting with Whitley and at least getting something going. What do you all think?
This was the original one that
Yes.
the ad hoc committee was asking for to get their numbers for all 6 options. I think we should approve this so they can
Yes.
get that done.
Yes.
And then we can bring it to the full board. And if at that time we want to visit in more depth one of the options, we make that call at that time.
All right, sounds like we're all agreed. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, passes. Our next item, we're gonna move next to Potter Lawson Space Needs.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
For direction for staff? Do you want staff to start working on trying to figure out actual numbers to actual consultants, real prices for fuller analysis? And if so, where do you want us to bring that? Do we want an agenda item on the county board? Do you want it back to this committee? Or do you not want us to do it?
I think it needs to go back to the ad hoc committee where they're all going through and then eventually to the full board, right?
Just, that's fine, I'm okay with that, but just practically speaking, they're probably gonna meet after county board in January. So you're gonna kick it down a couple more weeks, and then it sounds like we might have a special meeting late January. Which we won't have a decision until, where you're talking January 24th, that special meeting. Which is probably gonna force you then to kick it even farther. The analysis is gonna take time. So, I mean, if that's what you wanna do, it's okay, that's the practical implication of. If you move it past January 11th. March 31st may no longer be achievable. And March 31st, by the way, I'm assuming that means the ad hoc committee is not March 31st, not the county boards can have March 31st.
Right.
That's the report.
Wouldn't hurt for the staff to,
Get started.
Mhm.
That's kind of my view
They- instead of shooting in the dark and getting maybe the right consultants besides WIP play that,
Yeah. Would.
yeah.
right? What are we looking for?
I would defer to Mr. Furlow's opinion.
Yeah, I would prefer to start working. I didn't know about this concept. Let me begin to beat the bushes and see what I can find out. See if I can come up with a consultant that one or more that we could present at the county board, for example. Possibilities, or wait until the ad hoc and we could present. We could call a special ad hoc committee meeting. If I can locate and talk with. But being the holidays, that's gonna be difficult as well.
And you'll need a agenda item for the county board. The county board's gonna act, because the ad hoc committee has no authority, I don't
Right,
think, to
right.
spend,
Right.
special- even if it's strategic priority, they can't do that.
So, but, yeah.
Yeah. Now that would have to come through executive or the county board.
Can we turn it around in January?
I don't know. I can try, but I don't know how many people are on vacation now. This is a good time, everything sort of shuts down. That's why originally I had wanted the end of January.
Well, we just need a
Because-
proposal for these services by January 11th,
Right,
and you don't know if that's possible.
I really don't.
Okay.
I would certainly attempt to do that.
We can always agenda it and forget it. We
It's
forget we
not
don't.
ready.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
remove it if-
That-
That was
yeah,
it. I
sure.
just wanted to make sure.
Okay,
there
our,
weren't any false expectations.
we're gonna go next to action item 6B. The Potter Lawson Space Needs Assessment. A motion and a second,
Move, so move.
Supervisor Showpice, Supervisor Bossert. And you are presenting this, correct?
I am.
Matt?
July 1, 2021, the Potter Lawson presented an estimated bill of 147,800. I talked with them and negotiated it down to 125,000. On 7/9, the board accepted that. One of the conditions was that they had already done a study 11 years prior, so we could save time and energy. They are familiar with our county. The same lead engineer architect was going to be that person leading the new one. So that was going along very well. I'm working very diligently with Kara Hertwich from facilities as well as Scott Schmidt. I'm very impressed with how far we've gotten, but we do need additional time. And you will find that this study will be much greater in depth than 11 years ago. So I think it's well to the advantage of the county to increase by 15,000. We still save about 7,800 from the original quote.
Working for us for a long time.
Yeah.
Project.
Yeah.
Discussion?
I'm good.
There being no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
now we'll go to the discussion items. County Clerk, quarterly report. We gotta look the other way.
No.
I'm gonna present from this side, yeah. So my EOS report is in your packet. Pretty much everything that is in there as of right now shows a completed status. Regarding marriage license and passport appointments, we now have a system that the public can utilize and automatically schedule their appointments right online, so 24/7, 7 days a week. And so that has been going extremely well, especially with a smaller staff that has really taken a burden off of individuals in our office to actually manually schedule appointments. And then in regards to the marriage license law changes, that is all implemented and complete. We see quite a few members of the public from different counties, sometimes specifically just because they want to sign our I do wall, which is a chalkboard wall, and we take pictures and post them on Facebook if you have not seen them already. So that's pretty exciting because that's revenue that we then get to keep here in Washington County, which goes to our office, clerk reports, and human services. And the next item that was recently completed is the hand count audit of the 2022 election results, where we hand counted the governor, lieutenant governor race and the U.S. Senate race with the help of many municipal clerks and poll workers and election chief inspectors. So that went extremely well. And if you saw, there were only 2 notable changes, and that was due to ballots that had jammed on election day and were noted in the report from that municipality. So other than that, it all went extremely well, and we came in well under budget. We had approved up to $50,000, and we spent just a little over $9,000. And then the last item that we had as an initiative was programming our elections in-house. And we are actually almost at the complete status of this. We will be once I have all of the candidates from across the county. I actually will be going to Command Central to train on programming in-house January 5th and 6th. And then we should be up and running with that. And all of our systems actually earlier this week were updated, and we were given access to the full programs that we utilize from Dominion, and that has been completed. So we are right on track to be able to program in-house for the upcoming likely February primary. And that's all I have, and I can answer any questions that you have as well.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
The programming would affect all the voting entities within the county that are using Dominion, is that correct?
So every municipality in Washington County utilizes Dominion ICE machines. We compile all of the data at the county and then provide the memory cards for the municipalities. Historically, we've done that since April of 2016. We will now just, instead of contracting with Dominion to program all of the data that I have compiled and put together, I will be doing all of that here in-house.
But it's all the entities in the county.
Yep, it's always been all of the entities.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions?
Nope.
I'm good.
I think just a
Thank you.
quick comment. Thank you for doing that.
Yes.
I think it helps rebuild confidence in how we do elections in our county. And I wish some other counties near us would follow our lead and do the exact same thing.
Sure.
So, but thank you.
You're welcome. And I do have to say that, as there's additional elections or special elections, it will provide quite a bit of a cost savings programming in-house. It also allows for more flexibility as to when things are done on our end, which creates efficiencies for our municipalities, especially with the short timelines and deadlines that we have per state statute. So it's going to be extremely beneficial all around.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next report is a finance quarterly report. Hello.
Good afternoon. Still, yes. So not many significant updates from our last report. We do have a couple of items that have been completed. We have now done all of our quarterly sessions for the accounting staff throughout the county. Those were completed as of last week. We are currently working on getting our purchasing guides uploaded. I believe those are all up online right now. So actually that one will probably be complete as well. Just haven't had a chance to go out there and verify today. So now we're kind of shifting into year-end work and then working through some of our bigger projects that are coming up that have not yet started. Including the project accounting for our human services department. That'll be new for them. And that'll kind of help us integrate better with our new grants database, which was recently completed as well. We are also working on, converting some manual processes into our financial system, including the bank reconciliation. That'll be starting in the next couple of months. And ongoing through probably summer, we'll be working on upgrading our current financial system to the newest version. We're going to be losing support for that system next October. So this will be the last year we'll be able to issue tax forms out of there. So that includes our W-2s for employees and 1099 forms for our vendors. So that project will need to be completed before we hit that point next year. So that is also currently on track and no issues. And we had one project that was off track last meeting. It was on track and we're at the risk of falling off track again. We're having a hard time connecting with our vendor to kind of get this project moving. And that's the credit card acceptance. Ashley's department is very patiently waiting for us to get that going so we can get credit card acceptance in there. Unfortunately, right now, there's nothing that I can do but wait. So I've been sending almost 2 emails a week to kind of, I feel like I have a nag right now, but I really want to get, no comments. But we really want to get this up and running because after 20 clerks, we've got a few other departments that have been waiting for this. And it's something that we really need to get going and to get modernized. So that'll be our next big push.
Any questions? Thank you.
I can hear you thinking.
Our next is the Human Resources Quarterly Report.
So first, we're gonna do a survey on Margie's last comment to find out what everybody thinks. Oh, she's still here, sorry. So realistically, my information's there for everybody to take a look at. A couple of things that have occurred since the last quarter that we met. We have prepared some supervisory onboarding, so when we bring in new supervisors, we have a chance to at least get them acclimated to some of the things that are specific to the county and laws or regulations they're gonna need to know. Very brief. We haven't had a new supervisor start since we put the program in place, but at the time we do, we're ready to do that. We have a leadership program we put in place 3.5, almost 4 years ago. It kind of went on hiatus for a while. It's now ready to go. We're hoping to launch it in January, so that's ready. Another news, a different thing we've done now, our HR systems, HR payroll systems. There are some compliance tools within those systems. We've been working with the vendor and our staff in building those tools out so we can use them for some reporting things and take some of the work off of staff. They're ready to go. One of those reports runs at the end of this year. The next one doesn't happen next year. So we've tested them. They should work. We'll see when we actually report to the government if they do. Under the fiscal responsibility piece, a couple of things there. We did a couple of different RFPs and reviews. One was for our health insurance carrier. We made a change to the carrier, not the carrier, the benefit itself. We are still working with UMR. We did have options. We decided to stay with UMR. We made a plan change, really taking our plan from a wide open plan to a narrow network typical version. So there's significant savings there. Another RFP we did was for the onsite clinic. We've had QuadMed for almost 6 years. We did do the RFP. We made the decision to make a change to the carrier from QuadMed to Freighter. That's going to happen in the June timeframe. So there'll be a window of time where there'll be a shutdown. So part of that will be making sure they have a provider, and that's not always easy to get. We know how healthcare is. So, but that is one of the changes happening. We also did an RFP for our broker, health insurance, life insurance broker. We use Brown & Brown now. We look at a number of different brokers. We did decide we're going to stay with Brown & Brown. So
let's see, what was the other thing? That's largely the changes that are there. So if people have questions, glad to answer them. Otherwise, we're pretty much on track with all of the goals that our department has.
A quick question, the decision to move from Quad Med to Freighter, better service, economy, what?
Ultimately, I mean, the presentations and the information we have on service has been very positive. It was largely financial, about a $200,000 savings. It's a different type of a service. This is more of a healthcare institution operating it versus a private entity operating it. So some of the tools, some of the things that you do are a little bit different, but for the most part, it was largely the ability to be able to maintain services as well as having some cost savings.
Other comments or questions? No? Good. Thank you, sir. Our next item. The Community Development Block Grant Remodeling update from Schmidt. Can you turn on his microphone? Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Good presentation.
Thank you. Any questions? So any packages and update on the development block grant, you may remember that this grant received through the state of Wisconsin to make certain improvements to this building and several others. And so I just want to point out the reasons why we received that grant and then what acknowledgement that was approved by the county board on top of that. So as you may recall, the old boardroom that was here was not ADA compliant. Remember where the chairman sat up was upstairs. There are narrower gates between the audience and the committee members, board members sat. Also, the desk heights were not the correct height, right? So a lot of barriers in the room, making it not really conducive to people with disabilities to actually be a committee member or a board member. And as we come from the modeling and work that was done in here, there's been a lot of modifications to make sure this room is ADA compliant. You see that we also did ADA compliance in 7 bathrooms in this building as well. So that if there's a supervisor or a member of the public that wants to come to the meeting, then you have the ability to go to a restroom that is ADA compliant. Also, there's areas that the audience can sit in that are ADA compliant as well. A little better than you could figure forward several wooden benches that they had to work on. So it's very important, I think, and obviously the county board supported getting this room to be ADA compliant so that anybody who wants to run for public office or be at a committee or an ad hoc committee or special committees, they can come here with any abilities that they may have. Again, with the restroom as well. Also with that, we did at the tower, which is the old historical society. We did a kitchenette and a restroom. Make sure that ADA compliant restroom in that building as well. As they look to expand their services, I know they do weddings and stuff like that. So they also want to remodel of the kitchenette. So make sure that anybody that has any disabilities can go there, use the restroom, but also work there as they need to, albeit on a temporary basis or more permanently. So we did that work as well. We also did work over at UWMWC, putting a ramp into their gymnasium. That gymnasium is actually during the pandemic, right, to provide either shots or for testing. So I usually don't use it for athletics as much anymore. They just put to use that gym for other purposes. So it's important to make sure that is also ADA compliant as well. If you can imagine going into that room for a shot or something disabled, then you're going to go over a little stair versus a nice ramp to get up and into there. So there's some reasons to make sure we had many modifications done to this building as well as around the county to help those with disabilities within all those structures. So you know, the importance of that work that was done for those projects that we had done there. The other part I want to point out is that there was a nice spreadsheet trying to color code a little bit there what was included as expenses. So what did the county dollars go for? Again, the grant dollars were $1 million in grant funding and about 310,000 county expenses. And so what were those county expenses spent on? The red was for this building, the non-eligible expenses. So for instance, the walls were on the hallway here inside the building, inside this room, because of where the old board was, those walls, that wall was included.
as an eligible expense, but the rest of the wall panels are not. And we tried best to actually match the old panels as well as you can match the age that they were, the smoking in here and different coloration for that. It just didn't work out. So we decided that it was best to, when starting new, start with all new panels about the room. So that's one of the ineligible expenses that was there. Obviously, we had the podium and the height of the podium issue that we had to resolve was another issue. The electric fire alarm, we're still working through all the electronics. You guys can hear the microphones, right? We still got some work to do in this room with some of that stuff. But taking that electronic back to make sure that we had uninterrupted power to the servers that are in this room as well. So we go to the generator backup as well as a battery backup system up into our IT room. So it's very important that really have that continuity and not moving that stuff right away once we put it into place. We had about a $1,600 expense for tile in the restroom upstairs. It's in the main floor right outside the main entrance. They put all the tile in the restroom, but that's a little vestibule. So that was a little added expense. We had some plumbing where we found some pipes that we didn't know where they were, and we actually moved those as part of the project and some asbestos. You go take a building of this age, you sometimes find asbestos. You got to make sure you're building that the correct way. And the second page of that are the green items or the furniture. You may recall those that were here. I think you were here the last term as well. The chairs were also done, which the board members, as well as the cabinet members, are left over from the older department, repurposed to this room. But the furniture you see, the table you're sitting at, the chairs, the current committee is sitting at, as well as the audience are new, as well as the desks in the corner, the clerk, when the board meeting is going on. We had up there architect and our grant writing team $13,000. The grant would only cover the first 15. And so it's very important to make sure we have that covered. AVI is still the audio visual. They did a lot of audio visual here. You'll see that we kept this monitor in that corner state. We actually ordered 3 more. So we're going to be repurposing to using that to get more. The Bosch systems that are in front of you, this particular one I'm using, and you typically use during board meeting, all repurposed and utilized again. But obviously, we needed new speakers for the center table to make sure we could catch every word that is said during a meeting. So some definite upgrades there. Some electric work and switches again to make sure we got those up to code in this room. The dishwasher was for the old courthouse, the kitchenette, and they didn't have one before, I believe. So we got them, I think it's a new one. I'm not quite sure on that, but we definitely got them a new dishwasher. There locks in the doors over here, and obviously spike. And part of those county expenses were actually within the county perks budget originally. So that's still going on, and they're working hard to get in here to get some training, so that'll be up and hopefully running very soon. Any questions you have on the expenses and stuff that was repurposed in this room? Or any questions for the ADA restrooms? The project is closed. We're closing out. There's still some work to do to close out the documents by the end of the year, but we're well on schedule. We appreciate the patience, not just by the committee here, but the county staff as well. There was some very loud days in the building. We appreciate their time, and hopefully those days are now past, and we'll hopefully enjoy this for the next 60 years.
Thank you.
Thanks.
As for the anti-crime plan update, all of you are aware, we're having a special county board meeting on January 24th, where we will roundly discuss that and try to come to some conclusions, which will be voted on in the February county board meeting. So that's all for that. 5F, City of Hartford proposal utilizing the County Brownfields Assessment Fund.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So back on June 30th, this committee approved 24,000 of County Brownfield Assessment Fund to pay for the city of, as a match to the City of Hartford SAVE grant through WEDC. At the time, our consultant thought that it was a 20% match. It turns out that it's actually a 33.34% match. So we are back asking for additional funding of $16,000. So with the approval back in June, and if you approve this tonight, it would be a total match of $50,000. With 40,000 from the county assessment fund and then 10,000 with the city of Hartford. That is their 20% match to the assessment fund.
So we previously approved 24,000 and now we're doing the extra 16 to get us up to 40.
Correct.
Any questions?
I'd make a motion that we
Well,
adopt.
this is just discussion, so it's a consent.
All right.
Just consensus.
So general consensus, yay or nay?
Yep.
We're all good.
Okay,
And you have the next item too?
yes. That is the city of Hartford update to their zoning code. It's a rewrite. Utilizing the Next Generation Housing Fund. They sent out an RFP and received one response. Justin Drew, the community development director, did reach out to numerous other firms asking why they didn't submit. It turns out that everyone was very busy and decided that they wouldn't be able to fit it into their workload. They did review the one proposal, and it fit exactly what they needed to get done. It's $69,815. The request from the city of Hartford is that the Next Gen Housing Fund fund 50% of that, for a total of $34,907. The current zoning ordinance for the city of Hartford, it really serves as a barrier to creating the next gen housing development, and they are one of our pilot developments for next gen housing.
Questions, discussion? Consensus? Pardon?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
The next generation housing framework update has been postponed to January, so that'll come back. So that gets us to the revisions of the capital asset policy, action item A.
Mr. Chairman, before you do anything, I think we probably take a motion to postpone that agenda item to next month's meeting.
Okay, need a motion in a second. Motion by Supervisor Murray, second by Supervisor Shadron.
Can I ask why postponing?
Because it was on the. Because it was on the agenda, but it wasn't ready for presentation.
I didn't want to speak for you then.
That's fine. So a couple of days ago, we had a next gen housing committee meeting, that's the advisory committee. And we went through the framework. It was actually the county expectations of the funding that we're providing to the pilot developments. And there were some details in there that they had asked that I go back and talk to our subcommittee about, and then bring it forward back to that committee for approval before bringing it forward to the executive committee.
So essentially, all the details aren't ready.
Yep. Perfect.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed. Hello,
Hello.
you don't have a peanut gallery to
I
give your
don't.
comments this
I
time.
know.
Motion in the second, please. Supervisor Schulteis, Supervisor Bosser.
Okay. So financial policy changes, we just bring to the committee to get your approval. Since it guides what we do in our day-to-day. This change is a minor change. Our capital asset policy allows an exception for our highway department to our normal procedures for capitalization, and that is so that we remain in compliance with state requirements for all the projects and equipment and going on to the highway department. The state is making a change to that guidance that they provide to us. So we are essentially updating our policy to just reference to the state so that we stay in compliance with what the state is requiring us to do. It doesn't fundamentally change anything we're currently doing, nor what we would normally capitalize. It's, I think it's on the state level, it's clarifying language, which probably would impact smaller municipalities that have different types of capitalization policies than we do. So I don't anticipate any fiscal effect for us, nor any change in our capital asset listings as they are. So it's really just a formal policy change to stay in compliance.
Thank you. Any questions? There being none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thanks.
Moving on. Item 6C, tax deed redemption, tax key number T 2-010700C. Motion and a second, please. Motion by Supervisor Shadron, second by Supervisor Mary.
I can answer any questions that you have regarding this item and the next. This item was one of the tax deed properties that we took, I believe, in October, end of October, and they had until November 16th to redeem, and they did in fact pay all back taxes, interest and penalties in order to redeem the property. And that is why it's here, and we are asking for approval in order to redeem the property back over to the prior owner.
So moved.
Any questions? Oh, you already moved.
Yeah,
it.
we
Second.
already did.
You just need to vote.
Oh, we need a vote.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, and the next one is tax key V10-0271. Supervisor Bosser, Supervisor Shadron.
This is the same type of situation. This property was located in the village of Richfield. They did in fact pay all of their back taxes, interest and penalties that were owed to the county, and have successfully redeemed. So we're asking to get your approval to deed it back over to the prior owner.
Any questions or comments? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Finally. 6E resolution 2022 carryover of non-departmental funds. Motion and second, please.
moved.
Supervisor Schultheis, Supervisor Mary.
And
Thank you. So in 2022, employees were given essentially a 1-year pay boost of 1%. Right? We call that non-base compensation because it's not in their base pay when we then apply the COLAs and stuff going forward into the future. Right? So it ends at the end of the year. The way we budgeted for that was we budgeted $300,000 in a budget center that we call non-departmental. Rather than putting that amount into all the different department budgets, we put it in one spot, and the intent was to to take a wait and see approach, see how department budgets were able to absorb that additional 1%. The thought being if departments were at risk of going over budget, then we would deploy that money out into those department budgets. It turns out that they are not anticipated to use this $300,000. So we're not going to be deploying it out to the department budgets. That's largely because of, the labor market, right? We've got a lot of vacancies and turnover, and there's just cost savings in the budget that we were able to just absorb. So this resolution is sort of an early version of our carryover that we do every year, except for this one item, right? So we're looking to carry that $300,000 from non-departmental in 22 over into 23, because we want to do that 1% non-base again for 2023. that serves as, it really serves as sort of a retention tool for us. But also it provides us, the ability to boost wages and sort of ride out this inflation and labor, labor market, a lot of the crazy things that are happening without necessarily putting us on the hook for long-term future costs, right?
Yeah.
We might end up having to budget for these in the end, but at this point, this is done in a way where it allows us to be the most flexible from year to year. So that's really the ask. So happy to answer any questions.
And the money that's already in there
Already there. we're
is
just using
sufficient
it
to
up.
do this.
Absolutely.
Love it, love it.
So.
Burns, question? Be straightforward. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next meeting date is January 18th, 2022 at 4 p.m. This meeting is adjourned.
You done good. Boss.
Merry Christmas to all.
Yes.
Scott,